Welcome back, everyone. My goodness. This was a longer break than we normally but I just love how this community, there are just so many great animated conversations going on. It just makes me so happy to see this. All right, we are going to welcome Tim McKee back for the second portion of this. And hope you enjoy, and of course, we'll all see you at the end.
Okay. Any questions before I get started? And how am I doing audio-wise? Somebody was saying we needed to adjust a bit. Better? Okay, good. Okay. The next person we're going to talk about, Jacob Fleck. Did I? Okay. In 1889, J.J. Fleck, as he was commonly referred to, started a business that basically provided livestock and food remedies for livestock. And at one point along the line, he decided to kind of branch out into egg dyes, Easter egg dyes. And so, many of you may remember the Fleck Easter egg dyes. That kind of really became their primary business as they continued to grow and expand. And you'll see kind of the middle picture there is both an old and a more recent picture of the J.J. Fleck building. And you actually see up at the top, even on the new picture, right at the very top of the building, you'll see J.J. Fleck up there, embossed in the building itself. And that is still there. And when they repainted the building, they highlighted it by doing it a darker color to really call that out. So that's kind of an interesting building to check out down on South Washington Street. So speaking of the Easter egg dyes, they eventually became the second largest manufacturer of Easter egg dyes in the country. Little thing from my semi-childhood. When I was in high school as a teenager, I worked for Fleck Electric. Related, but the families were related, but not the same business. And when I worked for Flex, we would, anytime we needed to ship something out UPS, we always went over to J.J. Fleck. We took it down to J.J. Fleck, and they did our shipment for us out on UPS. And I remember going in there, usually about starting in the fall, around Thanksgiving time or early December, they would start getting busy with packaging the Easter egg dyes. And then for months up until Easter, they were quite busy in there with all of that. And then really about 9 months of the year, it was pretty quiet when you would go in there. So just kind of an interesting thing that I remember as a kid. Their home, the Fleck Easter, or basically the J.J. Fleck Company and the Easter egg business continued until 1997. When the descendants decided to go ahead and close it up. So, unfortunately, that's not with us any longer. Their home, as you can see in the picture up above, that's a historical photo of it, although it does look quite similar to what it looks like in that photo. Is it 134 Sycamore Street? It was built in the 1890s for Alton Kimball. He was the manager of the Sterling Emery wheel manufacturing company. The house was purchased about 13 years later by J.J. Fleck, and it remained in the family until into the 80s when they finally sold it. But it does still remain. It is kind of more recently, it's hidden by a lot of vegetation, so it's a little bit harder to see. from the street, but that's kind of why I chose one of the older photos of it. It's currently painted all white. As we can see in this photo, it probably had some more color on it, but beautiful home nonetheless. It's widely described as a great example of the transition from Queen Anne to neoclassical. So it's kind of got some features of both styles. But a really wonderful home over on Sycamore Street. And really, a lot of the original detail still there. Not a lot of changes to that one. Any questions on J.J. Fleck?
Are Jacob and J.J. the same person? Because it says Jacob was born in 1901, and it says the business was started in 1889.
Yeah, well, the business was started, and then Jacob took it over later in his life.
His father that started?
I think it must have been his father.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one we're going to talk about. This one, A.A. Cunningham and the Cunningham House. I mentioned earlier, it is the school administration building. Currently, this is a building that's really near and dear to our hearts at the Historic Trust, because this is an endangered home. The school system is intending to embark on a major construction project, which necessitates this home no longer being in the position that it is. And the scary thing is, the Ohio Board of Education, basically, that funds a lot of these construction projects, earmarks money for tearing down old buildings. So the school system gets money to tear it down, but they don't get anything to preserve it. So kind of scary. We at the Trust are working on trying to save it. We are working on possibly moving it or some manner in saving the property itself. So, so this one, again, really near and dear to our hearts in the Trust. If you drive by it, so it is right before you come up on Columbian High School on South Monroe. Beautiful home. Again, more of a historic photo of it, but a beautiful home. I mean, the exterior details, I mean, it's just incredible. And really, a lot of the interior has remained as well, even though it has been used as office building space for as long as I can remember. They've not done a lot of damage, and a lot of those historical details still exist in that building. So something that we're really hoping that we can put some sort of a plan, a collaborative plan together to save this, maybe move it somewhere else.
Is there anything the general public can do to help in that regard?
Actually, yes. So we at the Trust, we have a focus group that is specifically earmarked for working on endangered homes. This is our primary focus for this year. Secondarily, we're also working on the Octagon House over on the Heidelberg property on Perry Street. So that's another, we're working with, there's a group of former Heidelberg resident students that are working on within the university, trying to figure out what they can do working with us. So there's several opportunities for saving some properties, and this is really our primary. Now, as far as helping, we do have that focus group. The more the better, I think, for helping. So anybody who is interested in joining that, we have regular meetings that we meet and talk to different people and try to come up with a plan. So yeah, certainly see me, or if you go to www.tiffinhistorictrust.org, You can get my contact information, phone number, etc., and I can get you on the list and give you the details on those meetings. But yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and possibly, I mean, if you could find out who it is that we need to email or call, legislators, Ohio school board officials, et cetera, that might be the easiest way for people to get engaged.
Yeah, not a problem.
How much time do you have?
Well, basically, this fall, there are 2 levies, from what I understand, 2 levies that are going on the ballot. One is an operational levy for the school system, to basically general operational money. And then the second levy is the capital improvement levy. That is the one that is going to provide the local funds to match the government funds to be able to proceed with the plan. And just to kind of step back from it for a minute, just to kind of explain a little bit, again, my understanding of what the school system wants to do. Basically, they want to keep the existing cafeteria, gymnasium, and auditorium sections of Columbian. Then, all the way down to Charlotte Street, they want to add a new multi-story high school classroom type building, which basically necessitates the current administration building, in their minds, being torn down. We really hope that we can move it and save it. I'll get you. Oh. And so basically their idea is basically those parking lots that exist all the way down to Charlotte Street, that would become the new classrooms. And then the existing classrooms will be torn down and the parking lots will go there. So it's allowing them a transition, utilizing some of the building, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, certainly our hope, we would hate for them to tear, the Cunningham home down, but that's kind of their plan. So now we're working with them to figure out how can we work together and what can we do. And they have been very open.
Do you have any idea how much they will get for tearing down the building?
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, do we know how much the school system is getting to tear down the building? From what I understand, it's a tad over $200,000 to tear it down that they will receive funds for. So, yeah. Nancy?
I don't know if you want to say, we did get in touch with a company that does moving large historic buildings, and what they told me was that the basic moving would run about $200,000, but then you have to find a location and deal with removing such a large building and taking down wires and power lines and all the other.
Hold on, we have to
Oh,
have you
sorry.
speak on the microphone, thank you.
I'm sorry. I spoke with somebody from a company that does large building moving.
Just one quick comment. For anybody who doesn't know, this is Nancy Rubenstein.
Sorry.
Nancy is the secretary for the Historic Trust, so she's also involved in our organization, as well as on the Endangered Home Committee. So, sorry, just wanted to.
Okay. So I did get in touch with a company that does moving of large historic buildings, and the gentleman who got back to me gave me a rough estimate because I didn't have total details that he really needs to do a proper estimate. But the cost of just moving it, putting it onto a track and getting it moved would be about $200,000. The equal a cost, though, would be moving it to a location, which involves removing or taking down wires and overhead electrical and all that. And so the recommendation always is the closer you can move it, the better. And the fewer streets and corners you have to take, even better. So it's not a small task. So I think what the trust is hoping is that we can kind of negotiate the process, and then we find somebody who really wants a gorgeous house and has lots of money to invest.
Yeah, so if there are any millionaires, well, maybe not millionaires, but, we have an opportunity here as a community that the school system has offered to gift the house. If somebody can move it somewhere else, they're fine with just giving it away. So, I think as a community, if we all get together, maybe somebody's got a lot, that would be appropriate for it, that they're willing to, sell cheap or even donate. But really, I think when the community comes together, we can do great things. So our hope at the Trust is that we can save this house. So, talking about the house, I'm sorry, was there another? Oh.
Sorry.
With the school wanting to tear this beautiful home down to expand Columbian now, didn't they spend like over $1 million for some ground off of 224? Why aren't they building the school out there, making it big enough and maybe house more than just the high school, like they did over in Attica or Seneca East over there? And, maintain this. I mean, it just seems like a waste of money. We're paying these taxes and they're just blowing it willy-nilly.
Yeah. I understand. That, that might be something to bring up at a school board meeting. I don't know. Although I suspect what their thought process is trying to create, which a lot of communities are doing now, creating a school campus, where you can have the high school, the middle school down below. And the third piece of this project, from what I understand, is they are planning on a centralized elementary school on that same complex around the Columbian middle school area. So, and I suspect that the plan is then eventually to sell that property out by 224 and recoup those funds. But again, I'm not an expert on what's going on in the school system, just kind of reiterating some of the things that I know about it based upon our purpose of preserving the house. Okay, where am I at here? Okay, so looking at the house itself, really this house as well, kind of a blend of styles. It's got a lot of different things going on. A little bit of Tudor, in kind of the upper portion, with kind of that, the boards and the stucco kind of look. So really kind of a blend of a bunch of different styles, but really just an incredible building. And I mentioned earlier, the carriage house. It did have an incredible carriage house in the back, which you can see over here kind of on the right side. You'll kind of see that building kind of to the back. That is the actual carriage house that was there. School system tore it down and, made a parking lot. But I'm guessing it had probably deteriorated and, just got to a point where it didn't make sense to keep any longer. The house itself is about 4,500 square feet. So of the ones that we've looked at here today, it is one of the larger ones. Very ornate on the inside, lots of leaded glass windows, and just a lot of incredible detail on this. We are also, on the Trust, we are working on setting up a tour of the building for ourselves. They have also offered that if we wanted to have any guests that wanted to see the house as well. So anybody interested in that, anybody interested in getting involved, come see me, I've got cards, give me your information and I'll put you on the list, and we'll keep in touch when that time comes. But we're hoping within, sometime in the next couple of weeks that we can put together a tour of the building. So, as I mentioned, really, it has retained, even if you drive by it today, even down to the color scheme, it looks very similar to the way it did. So they've really kept, even though the school system is not really wanting it, at least from what we can tell, they have done a pretty good job of maintaining it. And And okay. And that's what I have on the Cunningham house. Any questions on that? Okay. My next one's kind of a little fun one. This one I kind of slipped in. Clive Lupton. Anybody in the room know, did anybody know Clive? Great. I actually lived right around the corner from Clive. Never realized that this guy was a millionaire. He obviously lived very meagerly. He lived over at 115 Prospect Street. His house was about 1,000 square feet, real similar to mine growing up. Just kind of an average place. And I would see him a lot of times. Behind his house was an alleyway, and that alleyway ran right alongside my house. And a lot of times he would walk out, back to the alley, down the alley, and he'd walk over to Hedges Boyer Park. He was always pretty quiet. He'd say hi and maybe a few words chit-chatting, but just a quiet gentleman, always very nice. But I always saw him going down to the park. And that has some significance here in a minute. But Clive was actually born in 1916 in Mexico, Ohio. He was a factory worker at GE. I'm guessing maybe like a foreman or maybe.
I'm not sure exactly. I know my father worked at GE too. And I grew up 2 doors away from him.
Oh,
I carried
on.
his newspaper.
You were on Prospect.
Yes.
So next to him was Mr. Biller, and then
Yes.
that way?
Hold on one
Oh,
second.
okay. Oh,
Okay, I grew up 2 doors from Clive. He was, like you said, very quiet guy, but he also had a temper if you went on his lawn.
yes, he did.
He had a fair amount of kids, and his lawn was like a sponge. I mean, it was just plush, and yeah, if the ball went over there, you wanted to make sure Clyde wasn't home if you went after him. But other than that, he was a very quiet guy. I also remember he had a fuel oil furnace in that house, which all the other neighbors seemed to have natural gas,
Yeah.
but his was fuel oil.
Oh.
As far as I know, he was a bachelor all his life. He did have a girlfriend or a companion, but yeah, he was just very quiet. And to find out that he had that kind of money, I had no idea. He just kept to himself a lot.
Yeah, yeah. That was really, living close to him as well. That was my impression. And another little, my little tidbit things. At one point, when I was a kid, my parents got divorced. And apparently, Clive wanted to date my mother. So now in hindsight, it's like, Mom, you should have been like Della. But exactly. But the good thing is, Mom married for love. So I think that's a great thing. It all worked out in the end. But yeah, I mean, just when I had learned about Clive, and then when I was asked to put this presentation together, he popped into my head as being one that probably nobody else in the room really knew, or knew that he had this kind of money. And I did find out he was married at one point, and he did have a daughter, but he was estranged from his family. Not quite sure why. Again, my impression, he was very quiet, didn't talk a lot, but pleasant. So again, don't really know a lot about him personally, but a really a nice man, and clearly dedicated to Tiffin. So when he passed away, he donated most of his estate to the city of Tiffin, earmarked for projects out at Hedges Boyer Park. So,
We have a comment right here.
oh, I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. Where did he live? Where was this house?
It was 115 Prospect Street. So you're probably quite familiar with Summit Street that goes down the back entrance to Prospect, runs parallel one block over, closer to Tiffin, or closer to town. So yeah, he donated a little bit over $1 million of his estate to the city of Tiffin, again earmarked for Hedges Boyer Park. As I was growing up, we also lived obviously very close to Hedges Boyer, so was down there all the time. Many of us probably remember the one-lane bridge that would connect you between the YMCA area and then. Well, Clive, one of the things that Clive really wanted that money to go to was to expand that bridge to a 2-lane bridge. And that's why we have a 2-lane bridge today, is because of Clive Lepton. And if you, I noticed it when I walked across it. There is a nice little plaque there. So if you get a chance, stop by, take a look at it. But really, an interesting little unknown millionaire in our town and more recent. So, any other questions or comments on Clive? Yeah.
How did he make his money and how big was his
Hold on.
How did he make his money? And if that was where he lived, how big was his estate?
Well, his estate was slightly over $1 million. At least what was donated to the city was a little bit over $1 million. How he made his money, I don't know if he had money to begin with, or if he was just very frugal. I mean, clearly he lived very frugally, but did he, save and not spend? I'm not quite sure, but yeah. Okay, so, and then our last one, we all know Andrew. Kind of talking a little bit about Andrew, but a little bit, we're going to back up a little bit because of the family and the business association. So obviously, well, I think obviously to most of us, Andrew Kalnow is the president and CEO of National Machinery. National moved to Tiffin in 1882 from Cleveland. So it was an existing business up in Cleveland. And Mr. Frost, who was a relative of Andrew's, was the one that actually moved the factory down to Tiffin. From what I understand, the major reason was, well, there were several major reasons, but the accessibility to natural gas was a big thing. The access to the railroads that were then coming through, and low cost of living and things like that. Just plentiful resources in the area that they needed. So that's why that moved. 1908, the factory was electrified. So this was pretty cutting edge at this point of time for that factory to be electrified and bringing in electric cranes and things like that to move the machinery around, rather than using steam power, which is what they used previously. So the company continues to grow to this day with service centers, manufacturing facilities, and sales offices all over the world. So even in the time that Andrew has now owned it since 2001, 2002, I think was when Andrew bought it again. He's continued to grow it. A little bit of, again, just a little bit of history on the company. It was in the family, in the Frost Kalnow family for many, many years, and then sold to private equity at some point. I believe it was Carl Kalnow that did that. And then the private equity firm, as I think many of us know, decided to shut it down at some point in the early 2000s. And Andrew basically put together a program to revive it and buy it back and get it back up and running again. So Great thing that he did in the company itself. His home, as we see here, 170 Sycamore Street. This has always been one of my favorites in town. I think, maybe because it's a little bit different. This is Tudor style, and we don't have as many Tudor styles in Tiffin. We have a lot of, farmhouse, a lot of craftsmen, a lot of bungalows. We have a lot of the same type houses. So that's one of the things that always drew me to this home, just liking the look of it. And it's looked the same as long as I can remember, so very well maintained. He also did a major restoration and remodel on the house in 2019. So, when we talk about his legacy, a lot of times we talk about, millionaires and things like that after they're gone. So it's a little bit different talking about them while they're still around. But as far as legacy goes, National Machinery is a big part of Tiffin. And bringing that back and opening that back up again for us is a great thing for Tiffin. Another project that he's involved in is Frost Village. There are several properties along Frost Parkway, like we saw a little bit ago, 8 Adams, and several of the others that he is operating, bed and breakfasts. He also has some rental properties over there, and basically continuing to rehab and grow that area. And again, named after his family, the Frost family. So Frost Village is really a big thing that he's done. He also owns the building where the deli is. So he's involved. He's helped with that. I don't know how involved he is with the deli. Probably just rents the building, but but he does things like that for the good of the community. So that's really wonderful. Also, we have the National Corner at the corner of Jefferson and Market. Actually used to be the Fleck Electric location that I worked at when I was growing up. And so now that's our splash pad, the amphitheater, all of that right along in there that he did. And kind of mimicked it after a park that he used to look at from his home in Chicago. So kind of a neat thing that he did for Tiffin. He does still own the old Columbian building, which was also East Junior High. So that building is owned by Andrew Kell now. That's another one that we at the Trust would love to see something happen with. And I think, again, community involvement. So anybody that has any ideas, come to the Trust, talk to us about, hey, I got an idea for this. Or call me and, got an idea. But I think as a community, we can really come together and utilize some of these spaces rather than letting them sit and decay. Andrew, at least with, the old Columbian building, he's maintaining that, just like the old library across the street from it on Jefferson as well, the old Carnegie Library. Vaguely remember going in there as a kid, because I think the new library opened in 77, 78, something like that, around that time frame. But that's, one of his big legacies is some of those properties. So again, anybody has ideas for any of those, Andrew's open to them. He would like to use those 2 buildings for some sort of government or public use, but open to options. So, so that, keep that in the back of your heads. And we're always there to help and direct. Another thing that he does a lot of is Christmas decorations. We all know, driving along over at National, they always do an incredible display. But he's also done some of the decorations along Frost Parkway. So he gets involved in that. Christmas is fun for him. So that's a fun thing he does, as well as many, many more. We could probably spend all day talking about all the things that Andrew has done. So that, any questions on Andrew? Okay. And that really wraps up the people and the places portion of the discussion. Basically, in going through this process, I was kind of thinking along the lines of, why did people come here? Why do people come here today? I left to go to college. I moved to California, then lived in quite a few cities across the country. And a couple of years ago, we were living in Fort Lauderdale at the time. And my husband said to me, we were talking about the cost of living down there. It's really expensive. And we also were we weren't really necessarily happy with no change of seasons and all of that. Where do we want to go? He brought up the idea of moving to Tiffin. And I was kind of like, really? It snows. But, we came up for a visit. Again, my mom still lives here. We're up on a regular basis. And, and really came up and thought about, would we want to live here? And by the end of that 10-day visit, we had made an offer on a home. And 3 weeks later, we were moving to Tiffin. And it's really been the best move of our lives. Getting involved and doing things like this is just incredible. I think a lot of times in big cities, you get lost. Here, we can get involved with the community and really do some good. So just like, my work with the Trust, the Arts Foundation, things like that, it's a very special place. And it's hard to put an actual, what is it? But it's a very special place, in here, I think. So, great people, you people are all incredible. And the education, look at, the educational options in this town. For a small town to have two, world-class universities is really a testament to the community. So, and obviously I've talked a lot about the Historic Trust. Really, we are, our mission is to promote historic preservation by meetings, publications, tours, and other means. To act as a nonprofit organization, to apply and accept grants, to promote and develop any plan for presentation and restoration in Tiffin, to work with all interested groups and individuals to put a plan into effect. So really, the Historic Trust, what we're here for, is to be a collaborative organization, like what we were talking about with the Cunningham House and Nancy talked about, really getting people together. So what we really need at the Trust is we need you. We need people like you to help us, give us ideas, help us advance those, those projects that we have in the works. So again, anybody interested in joining the Trust, whether you want to become a member, we do have some brochures available on the Trust as well, and those are back. Vicky's got those. And or, check out our website. We just rehabbed the website. We are working on adjusting the calendar, getting the calendar all up to date. But within the next week or so, we'll have all of our events coming up on the calendar. So that's a great place to learn about us. Also, becoming a member. Memberships are inexpensive. There are multiple options. If you go to the website, you'll see those different options, and I'd really love to see more people join our group and really help us get involved and save some of these structures that really make Tiffin special. Coming back and driving downtown, there's a lot of great things going on downtown, don't get me wrong, but there are more parking lots. And that's disappointing at times to see that, okay, we have another one that we've lost. And so I think back to the Shawn, when the Shawn had its fire, what did we do rather quick? I'm not sure who did it. Somebody put a roof on it to protect it. Some of our buildings downtown, I have a feeling, are probably decaying. And I've heard next door to the Renaissance, for instance, that building is leaking so much that it's not habitable anymore because there's so much mold in it. But it's somewhere in there between the Renaissance and Newberry's. And that's really the goal of the trust, is really to preserve these old buildings and work together with people to do that. So again, I'd encourage anybody who's interested to join us and let's take Tiffin back to the future, in a sense. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Or we have some time, does anyone want to share a family story of a historic home up here, okay. I knew there would be somebody in the audience that would.
I want to go back to Millionaire. Andrew's mother, Jane. Andrew's mother, Jane. I was always under the impression that she was from the Frost family and was herself a millionaire, possibly. Is that something that you've known, or is that true?
That is my understanding, yes. I did meet her once. I was actually in the house delivering a TV for Flex. She was, kind of similar to Clive from what I remember, very quiet. I remember the house being extremely dark. Big, heavy drapes, and it was very closed off. And the doors were closed to a lot of the different rooms. So as she led me in, she took me right back to her room where she wanted her TV, and I brought it in, set it down. But I do remember that it was very closed off and very dark. But yes, as from what I understand, yes, she was a millionaire in her own right. Not verified, though, by the way.
Could you talk Mr. Calnow into doing a home tour? I've always loved that house, and I would love to see that.
He'll be here on November 1st, so maybe we can all take a vote and tell him we want a tour.
The trust did have the house on, it was a Christmas tour, yes. So we did have in the past. I was hoping during doing this presentation that we can maybe twist his arm to, or maybe if we could get tours of a lot of these homes, would be kind of fun to then, maybe we could twist some arms and do a field trip on.
I'm hoping that next year's architecture program will involve some of the restorations of some of these beautiful old homes, and that would be right near the very top of my list.
Just wondering if anybody has thought about doing a book on Tiffin's Millionaires. You mentioned, or it was written somewhere, that there were 21. It would be so interesting to get more information on the others and, just detailing each one and their lives. I think it would be really super.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
I'll
have-
ask one of our professors to do that. I just had to ask the professor to write a book on the glass last week, so
Oh,
she's going to
nice.
be busy this summer, but maybe next summer. Where was the next question? Okay.
Yes, I recently moved from New York to Tiffin. It's a long story, but anyway, I really love this town, and it's beautiful. And my daughter from New York, she came to visit for a week with my grandchildren, and actually rented an Airbnb on Sycamore Street. And I was they had a built-in pool, and I was inside that house, and I can't even describe it. That's how beautiful that house is. It's smaller than this one. I think it was maybe 91, the address. I'm not sure. It was in the 90s, but it was really a beautiful home. I just wanted to share that.
Nice.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. And while I'm walking over, the holiday house tour is mentioned. Can you talk about that? And do you have the date set for the holiday house tour yet?
That is the first Saturday in December, Sunday in December. Yeah. So first Sunday in December is the holiday house tour. It's typically that first Sunday of each year.
Who were some of the other millionaires? You say there were 21. These are just a little snippet. Do you have some of the other names?
Yeah, well, the hard part is it was hard finding answers to that. I didn't find any publications, so yeah, if somebody's open to doing a book, that would be awesome. And I'm more than happy to I have a ton of research that I printed off, and so I can share a lot of that. So, not, just because I don't have time to write a book. Oh, so it is, okay. So, yeah, December 8th. So that would be the first Sunday. Oh. First full weekend. So it is December 8th is the holiday house tour. And do you have the list? I don't have the list of who's on it yet. They're still finalizing that list, but another team on the trust is working on that one.
What's the criteria to be on the holiday house tour?
Basically, have
Volunteer your house? Okay.
Yeah. Have a house and
Leslie,
preferably
you were
historic.
on the house tour, weren't you? Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions for Tim? Well, let's give Tim a round of applause. Thank you so much. So as I always do, please fill out your surveys because we use these. The curriculum committee loves to have your comments and your feedback and suggestions for next year. Next week's session is another one our curriculum committee strongly got behind. Freddie Ziegler, he's the warning coordination meteorologist for NOAA, the National Weather Service in Cleveland, will present storm spotting, how people and technology save lives. It's very timely as things are going on in the South right now, and full of important information designed to keep you safe during severe weather events. And also, my other hat here at Tiffin University is alumni relations, and next weekend is our homecoming. So please make sure you arrive to the Gilmore Student Center a little earlier than normal if you're one of the later people that get here, because the parking lot will start getting full it's also family weekend, so homecoming and family weekend, so there'll be parents and siblings and alumni coming into town, so it'll be really, really busy.
Thanks. We also expect some of the alumni will want to come and participate in this program, so.
Yeah, it'll be a full house. Make sure you check out the community events listed on your session sheets like we shared last week. Mimi does a great job of going to the community calendar, so not only is the things on your sheets part of Tiffin University's calendar, but also just in the community that she thinks would be helpful to all of you. Something that's not on the list but happening today, we have a peace garden that is being built on campus, and they're laying the bricks today at 1 p.m., and that's at the intersection of Wall and Miami Streets. There was a press release that went out, so I believe it was in the paper. The community is invited to come. The Peace Project is an initiative aimed at fostering global harmony and unity within the Tiffin community and beyond. This was a passion project for one of our longtime faculty members. So it was really fun to see alumni and students and former faculty member come and paint brick on campus, and they'll be placing the bricks today. So you are all welcome to go to the cafeteria and then head down to the corner of Miami and Wall to participate in our brick laying ceremony.
Yes, and next week we're going to let you know about an exciting new program. It's an intergenerational book club that we are going to be doing in collaboration with the students of TU and the library. We've got 3 books per semester. It's going to be a really fun program, and it will happen on Friday after lunch. So you'll have time to come here, have a leisurely lunch, and then we'll all go over to the library. Whoever wants to sign up and be a part of that, it'll start at 2. So you'll have time to just have a little bit of downtime and check out the library. Maybe, catch up on your email and stuff, and then do a short, probably hour-long discussion with students. The books that James Gilmore, the librarian, has chosen are really wonderful. So we'll have more information for you on that next week. So as always, if you have questions about life at TU, email or call Vicki or myself anytime. Thanks everyone so much. Thank you again to Tim McKee. And we hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. The brochures for the Tiffin Historic Trust that Mark Levins snuck in here, they're on the back table, so you're welcome to grab one. You can sign up today to join the trust. They actually have something you can tear out. So if you want to become a member today, I'm sure Tim will take your money.
Thanks. Good to see you. Awesome. Thank you.